Firstly, let me say that Goa, besides culture, which is unique not just to India but to the world, Goa was always known for its political movements, from the liberation movement to, I remember when I was a minister in the UPA in charge of telecommunications. At that time, there used to be a very big issue of mobile tower radiation. And I remember many Goans, elected representatives, public at large would often meet me and they would complain about this issue. There was very much awareness among Goans from a health concern, environmental concern. And it's because of Goa's activism, because of Goans' environmental consciousness, because of Goans' focus on public health, that I remember when I was minister, the UPA government created a policy for the country to regulate mobile towers and to balance mobile connectivity with public health and with environmental sustainability. And this is one example of how Goa has led the way. But today, unfortunately, and it pains me as somebody who is extremely fond of Goa, its culture, its people, that same activism, that same consciousness has been eroded because of BJP's politics. Today, what has BJP done to the state's finances? What have they done to the environment? All of these issues are before you. These have been highlighted many times by Rahul ji. I remember when he was here some time back and he had an interactive session with many people who are campaigning on the environmental issue of coal. He spelled out his vision very clearly. Even recently when Chidambaram ji said that we wish to start mining in Goa in an environmentally sustainable way. This is how we have managed, using the consciousness of the people of Goa, has affected and influenced national policy, not just for the people of Goa but for the country as a whole. That is the kind of activism and consciousness that the Goans have brought to this country's public discourse. I am from Mumbai. I interact regularly with many industry associations, and I can tell you that many industries today that you talk to, especially those who are functioning in the logistics industry, are extremely pained by what they see happening in Goa. Goa today, as the coastal advantage that it enjoys, the strategic advantage, what could have happened to Goa to make it a very, very important logistic hub has unfortunately not been done in the past so many years. In fact, in ease of doing business, as some of you may be knowing, Goa is ranked 4th last by the Government of India. A very, very important survey which even our research team and others are aware of, which is called LEADS, the Logistics Ease Across States, which says how good is a state for doing business in the area of logistics and trade. Goa is last, and this is last determined not by some NGO, not by one of the media channels, but by the Union Commerce Ministry as part of the Narendra Modi government. So it pains us because when I think of my past background in UPA under Dr. Manmohan Singh and Sonia ji's leadership, and what we tried to do using the Goan activism model to create a bridge between sustainability and development. When I think when I was given charge even of shipping ministry, at that time I can tell you that the major port here, Momogao Port Trust, we were going through twin shocks in the country because one, there was a global financial crisis, and the first industry that gets hit in a global financial crisis is trade. And the first sector that gets hit because of trade is shipping and ports. On top of that, I think if I'm not wrong, in 2012, mining was banned, LVSG. And mining was a big revenue earner, not just for the state of Goa, but also for an important central government agency like the Mormugao port. And today, it's very unfortunate given how we, during very difficult times, mining being banned, global financial crisis, trade volumes coming down, we still worked hard as per the instructions and guidance of Rahulji to make sure that Mormugao port still functioned during those difficult times. That the, what we call Godi Kamgars, in Mumbai we call them Godi Kamgars, the dock workers. We made sure their salaries were paid. Very, very difficult. These were issues I can tell you in Parliament used to be raised. MPs used to raise this from different parties, what are we doing about the logistics? We made sure that happened. Today, what is the model in Goa? What is the model for logistics hub? What is the model to keep Goa, create a level playing field in terms of maritime infrastructure? You may say there is some bridges built, there are some roads built. What maritime infrastructure has been invested in Goa to allow Goa, which has a strategic coastal advantage, to compete with other coastal states and become an important coastal hub? Unfortunately, the answer is nothing. And therefore, I want to just say that for those of us who live outside Goa, who see politics of Goa from a distance, the state that had the liberation movement produced great stalwarts. Unfortunately, from the time BJP has come to power, the state has now, the politics has turned. Today, BJP has changed Goa's politics. Not it's about ideology, it's not about where you stand on a particular issue. Now Goan politics, according to the BJP model, is about money power, muscle power, and defections. And this is something we are all trying to fight against. And therefore my appeal through the media to the people of Goa is we in the Congress are very, very confident this time. Few months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, the media was telling a very different story. They were party 1, party 2, acting like they are going to change the course of Goa's politics. Today everyone knows what is the scenario of those parties. Someone asked me, should we do, what is the answer on alliance? Why do we need to do an alliance? And with who do we need to do an alliance? With parties that have collapsed. Those same parties that come on the eve of election, put up hoardings, spend money, crores of money, those are not parties that are here to serve Goans. And Goans understand this very well, that Congress is a party that has always brought progress to the state of Goa. Narendra Modi ji yesterday in his speech suggested people have rejected Congress, but the people of Goa know who was rejected and who was elected 5 years ago and how they came to power 5 years ago. So I want to just say very clearly that this election is a very different election. And what was the media mood, unfortunately 3 months ago, 6 months ago, is very different today. And today we are a stronger party. We are a party where we have given a chance to many interesting young individuals to fight these elections. We are a party that will make power on its own, but it's very important we bring back the lost shine and glory of Goa. And this is a state that trusts the Congress's history. This is a state that remembers when Jawaharlal Nehru was Prime Minister and during the ascension of Goa to the state of India, he had promised that a referendum will be held, whether Goans want to be with Maharashtra or retain their own cultural identity. And yesterday the Prime Minister said, what has the Nehru-Gandhi family done? That same commitment of Jawaharlal Nehru, a referendum was held by his daughter Indiraji. That same commitment was then manifested into statehood when Rajiv ji was Prime Minister in 87. And then 5 years later, when Congress was in power again and Narasimha Rao ji was Prime Minister, Konkani was made the official state language of Goa. So that is the history, that is the deep relationship that the Congress party enjoys with Goans. I am convinced that in a mood of anti-incumbency, of 10 years of anti-incumbency against the BJP government, the people of Goa will vote decisively, give the Congress a clear and strong mandate so that we can govern stably and deliver on our promises for the people of Goa. Thank you.
So, Deora sir, what will be what will you say about the unemployment graph is increasing? Tourism boost is not going on as per situations. What will you say?
No, I will say that unemployment is a very serious issue nationally. That is because of mismanagement of the government of India. Many countries have gone through a lot of economic distress because of coronavirus. But every country has invested in their youth. Today the government of India has done nothing. And if you saw the speech of the Prime Minister in Parliament yesterday, unfortunately the Prime Minister of India is still believing that the Prime Minister of India is Jawaharlal Nehru. And I think it's important to remind the Prime Minister of India that the Prime Minister of India in 2022 is Narendra Modi. And employment in Goa is a very serious issue. But how do you create employment in Goa? I give you an example of a big port like Momogao Port Trust. If you want to boost Momogao Port and create employment, you have to invest in resources to trade. You cannot say in the port, I will build one more terminal. You cannot say I'll build something else. What will you trade? And therefore, starting mining again in Goa is very, very important in a sustainable way. Why in a sustainable way? Because 5 years later, again somebody should not go to court, again the whole cycle will start, again mining will get banned. And our commitment is not to create employment by importing coal which is polluting, but by exporting environmentally sustainable iron ore. And we all know, in fact just recently I think BJP released their manifesto just a few hours ago. And in the manifesto also they've said, we will start mining after 6 months. If I'm not mistaken, Sunilji, for the last 10 years they've been talking about starting mining. 2012 election, that time 2014 Lok Sabha election, they said we'll start mining. 2017 Vidhan Sabha election, I remember I was here, they said we'll start mining.
Sir, in BJP in their manifesto says that the excise on the petrol will be slashed down. What will you say and what is your party's agenda about the fuels?
We have always said that states and BJP must slash petrol prices. So we feel that today there is inflation. But the problem is people don't believe what they are saying. Because if you take mining for instance, for how many elections and every year they are saying that. And they are always extending the deadline. We will start mining, we will start mining. But there is no plan to start mining. So Congress is committed to starting mining. Congress believes that we have a stake in Goa's future. If I talk of the Port Trust, if I talk of other infrastructure projects, we feel very strongly that this is Congress's legacy in the state of Goa in India. And therefore to protect that legacy, to nurture that legacy, to strengthen that legacy, we must invest and invest in the future of our human resources, of our youth and of this infrastructure.
So do you think that the he speaks about e-energy? It is sustainable energy for this. It is compared for the common people to buy these vehicles.
For electric vehicles?
So what he said is that we have promised 8 rupees petrol. So he laughed at us on that promise and he's saying they are going to bring e-vehicles. Like this.
Go with the pollution.
So it is possible for common man to
See,
buy
I believe electric vehicles are the future. This is the future technology, nobody is going to deny that. But till the time that a common man can afford to buy an electric vehicle or an electric bike, at least slash the cost of petrol and diesel. So there's no point if a senior union minister comes to Goa on the eve of election when people are suffering and they are hurting and they are financially in pain and is laughing about the idea about slashing the cost of fuels. I think that's very unfortunate. That's throwing mud in the face of people who are needy, who are expecting some relief from the government of India. And I think right now it's very important that the government of India should be looking at providing relief to the poor people. Future is separate. Today people need to live. Future is a long way off. Let's try and fix the problem for today. पेट्रोल का देखिए, पेट्रोल को कम करने के लिए 2 इश्यूज हैं. एक, राज्य सरकार अपनी एक्साइज ड्यूटी कम कर सकते हैं, लेकिन केंद्र सरकार को भी करना पड़ेगा. सबसे पहले केंद्र सरकार को, जब पेट्रोल और खास करके कच्चा तेल का दाम में इतनी गिरावट आई थी, अब कच्चा तेल का दाम बढ़ रहा है. When the time was right, government of India didn't reduce it. So now the government of India is, in fact today I read an article that the government of India has hinted through somebody दैट चुनाव खत्म होने के बाद वे दोबारा पेट्रोल और डीजल का दाम बढ़ाएंगे. सो दिस इज नॉट द वे टू डू पॉलिटिक्स. आपको हर केवल वोट के लिए जनता को गलत तरह से आप प्रभावित करना चाहते हैं. ये देश के लिए, देश के विकास के लिए, जरूरतमंद लोगों को राहत पहुंचाने के लिए ये बहुत अन्याय है. और हम चाहेंगे कि सबसे जल्दी, यदि गडकरी जी या किसी भी केंद्रीय मंत्री ने कहा कि इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स इस देश की फ्यूचर है, जब तक इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स का दाम गिरे, द कॉमन पर्सन कैन अफोर्ड इट, केंद्र सरकार को जल्द से जल्द पेट्रोल और डीजल का दाम कम करना चाहिए.
गोवा में आप कैसे दाम 80 रुपीज पर लीटर कैसे कर सकेंगे अगर आपकी सरकार आए तो?
That is something which the local Goa Congress will be able to answer better. But as I said, our policy is very clear for India and for the state of Goa that the price of essential resources which are causing inflation must come down. बजट के भाषण में केंद्रीय वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमण जी ने कहा कि हम फिस्कल डेफिसिट को बढ़ाना चाहते हैं. इसका साफ मतलब क्या है कि केंद्र सरकार इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में निवेश करना चाहती है. ठीक है, हम इसका स्वागत करते हैं, लेकिन यदि आप फिस्कल डेफिसिट को बढ़ाना चाहते हैं तो आप पेट्रोल और डीजल का दाम भी घटा सकते हैं. तो इसलिए मेरा आपके माध्यम से फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री से, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से, प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी से अपील रहेगा कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया मस्ट प्रोवाइड इमीडिएट रिलीफ टू पीपल हु आर सफरिंग फ्रॉम द ब्रंट ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन.
Regarding this petrol prices, this government has access to multiple streams of revenue. Mining they have shut down, so that would have cushioned a lot of the petrol money. Plus, the central funds are going back. Crores and crores of central funds are going back because this government does not want to be investigated for corruption under the CDC. So, we will explore ways on how to bring down the price of money by streamlining this. And the best way is to reduce the expenditure on advertisements, like how this government does. So I'm sure it'll stabilize once these things happen. Petrol prices will stabilize once all this vanity expenditure and promotional expenditure where CM's face is plastered on every hoarding with written by information and broadcasting department.
देखिए, हम माइनिंग शुरू करेंगे, ऑटोमेटिकली गोवा गवर्नमेंट की जो फाइनेंशियल सिचुएशन है दैट विल इंप्रूव एंड दैट विल गिव द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट लॉट ऑफ रूम टू प्रोवाइड रिलीफ टू पीपल हू नीड इट.
आणि किती क्वेश्चन तसा म्हणायचे
As Priyanka Gandhi had visited a constituency in Kandy, so was this a push for the workers of Kandy to vote for this?
that you should judge. You were there. The kind of response that she got, the adulation that she got, speaks for itself.
Elevation, एक मिनिट. तुम मतदारसंघांचा पण कन्फ्यूज असं झालं. काय तुम कॉन्फिडंट आहात? म्हणजे तुझे मुद्दा
वो विषय आम्ही बाहेर उडूया.
एल्वेस जी नक्की जिंकणार, काँग्रेस पक्ष पण नक्की जिंकणार.
स्पेसिफिक प्रेस कॉन्फरन्स मिलिंद देवरांची फक्त ते प्रेस कॉन्फरन्सचा स्पेसिफिक किती क्वेश्चन दादा विचारत नव्हतं. रिक्वेस्ट
सर जी, कांग्रेस कैंडिडेट की सिविल एफिडेविट ले ली, क्या कांग्रेस लीडर जो है वो कैंडिडेट पर भरोसा नहीं करते हैं?
पूरी तरह से भरोसा करते हैं.
तो एफिडेविट का
सी देखिए, इस बार जो इलेक्शन, ये जो इलेक्शन है, every Congress member, every Congress candidate is aware that horse trading has hurt the image of Goa, has hurt the governance, good governance image of Goa. And I can guarantee you on one thing, that each and every candidate, whether it is a new candidate that Congress has given a ticket to, whether it is an old experienced candidate, people today want change. So what you are asking me, I understand. We are not at all worried about that. That's why in the beginning of my press conference, before your question started, I answered two questions. One was that, and two was the alliance question. Tomorrow someone will ask me about alliance. Same thing, who do we do an alliance with? Because 5 months ago, the mood was very different. Today आप ही खुद देख रहे हैं मीडिया में, जिन नेताओं को, पार्टियों को आप थोड़ा सा, आपको लग रहा था कि काफी उनका प्रभाव होगा वह चुनाव में, पूरी तरह से कोलैप्स हो चुके हैं. तो दिस इज अ टू वे फाइट बिटवीन बीजेपी, बिटवीन कांग्रेस. गोवा की जनता बदलाव चाहते हैं, वे सावंत गवर्नमेंट को हटाना चाहते हैं, और आम गोवन बहुत समझदार है, जागरूक है कि यदि उन्हें बीजेपी को हराना है, दे हैव टू गिव कांग्रेस अ क्लियर मैंडेट. एंड मुझे पूरा यकीन है कि इस इलेक्शन में वी विल गेट अ वेरी क्लियर डिसाइसिव मैंडेट which will allow us to govern very stably for the next 5 years.
कितनी सीट्स कांग्रेस की निकलेगी ऐसा लगता है?
आराम, बहुत कंफर्टेबल मेजोरिटी मिलेगा, बहुत ही कंफर्टेबल मेजोरिटी. जो ऐतिहासिक मेजोरिटी है गोवा के पिछले 15-20 सालों में, वो ऐतिहासिक मेजोरिटी कांग्रेस को मिलने
सर, वो क्लेम कर रहे हैं 22 का क्लेम कर रहे हैं.
22, 25, 28, ये सब ये मीडिया के पोल्स, ये आपका धंधा है, हमारा काम नहीं है. ये आप लोग तय कीजिए क्या होगा, कितने सीटें, कितना वोट शेयर होगा. हम लोग बहुत कॉन्फिडेंट हैं क्योंकि इस बार वोटर्स ने डिसीजन लिया. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
One last question. Do you think when the Congress will be able to start the mining? If Congress form the government, within how many months Congress will be able to start the mining?
We are committed to do it as soon as possible. I think realistically within a few months. There's no point saying a figure which is difficult. I've been a minister of shipping. I've seen what the challenge was in 2012, and I feel very credibly, based on the internal discussions many of us have had, including under Chidambaramji's leadership, that within a few months mining can begin. And we also believe that once and for all it's very important to fix the mining problem in Goa, because the minute you have environmentally sustainable mining, you will prevent a future legal action which could again curtail and hurt the economy of Goa. So we are committed to a long-term solution for mining, for environment, and for the development of Goa.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.